Hello and welcome back to Tin Star. We're in chapter 5 now, 6, who knows? Winter comes on slow like a herd on the horizon. The cold is there and you can't miss the chill, but it is just strolling along like it has got all day. Stray flakes often drift down during the night and a hint of frost keeps to the corners of the windows until the long sun chases them away. Those in the county that haven't packed up have started digging in, literally. Big berms of dirt are piled up against the sides of house and home to keep out the cold. The trees near Preston Springs have all been chopped down and the wood stuffed into overflowing firewood bins. I wonder if they know something I don't. Maybe it's that the winters around here are cold? Nah, that couldn't be it. Winters must be rough out here. They certainly aren't taking any chances, at least none that you can see, but despite the incessant labour, the townsfolk readily gossip about how you convinced an entire saloon of the guilt of Mr. Steele, and they were all rather proud at seeing their first jury trial. Soon what happened will be old news though. Marshal Tyler took custody of the prisoner at the county line, and those at Carson City will proceed from there. Preston's latest gift has trickled down to your pockets and given them an additional jingle. Alright. We're back on here. Where do we go? Sure, we can purchase some more materials for my homestead. Good wood is always expensive out here, especially with winter closing, and you'll need plenty of it for the floor, walls, and roof. Fortunately, being the marshal gives you a little leeway with things. People around town are all too willing to help you out. Alright, the sky outside is blue, with but a swirl of cotton white clouds above distant mountains. We don't have enough money to really buy anything else, but we can employ some idle men to work on my land, sure. Okay, or not. Unfortunately, the usual saloons and halls are utterly bare of idle hands this time around. Most of the saddled tramps have moved on in advance of winter, and those that are left just don't like the looks of the weather. The sky outside is blue with but a okay, we've read that. Okay, skip the window shopping. We can head out on the town, head over to the hotel and visit with Maria, see if Dan's around, or drop in on Miss Caraway at the Motherlode Saloon. Let's see if Dan's around, sure. You catch sight of Dan as the prospector lumbers into the Grand Haven Hotel with his saddlebag slung idly over shoulder. Peer through a window. You look and find Dan at the front desk talking sweet to Miss McMurphy. The part owner of the Grand Haven Hotel, not to mention the Babylon Saloon next door, idly shifts the high collar of her sapphire blue dress as she most definitely floats back at the big prospector. Indeed, they are of a similar age and have an ease to their conversation that lets them flow like twin streams into one river. It is a bit of a wonder then that Miss McMurphy even notes you in the window and then points you out to Dan. "Marshal," the prospector calls out through the glass, then steps toward the front to greet you proper. How good to see you. Bye. Now, I just wanted to see how you're doing. "Been better. There's a storm coming. I can feel it in my knees," Dan says and shifts where he stands. "I've got a lineament for that, so I do." I've got a lineament for that, so I do, Miss McMurphy tells the prospector softly. "It may take the whole bottle this time." "Storm?" "Yep," Dan sighs. "And I dreamed of lions." "How many?" "3, 2 small ones, or at least smaller than the big one in the middle with a mane like spun gold," Dan relates. "Not unlike that bodyguard the Mexican princess has got. Wonder if they're related." "Who knows?" "Yeah, probably just a coincidence." "Hello there, Miss McMurphy." "Hello, Marshal Smith," Miss McMurphy replies. "Always good to have you stop by, even if you never stay. Are you going to visit Dan here, or will you be needing a table?" Sure, a table, eventually." "It will be ready then," she replies. Interested in dinner? My treat?" "Oh, I'd like that. I've been living on greens and fish too long. A steak and proper potatoes would be a treat." That eventually just became now, did it?" Miss McMurphy asks. "It does that from time to time, so it does." Steak, always steak. With so many cattle about, it is hard not to have one with any meal. Not a thin slice of it either, but a big frazzle sided with fat. Potatoes, mashed or whole, boiled or fried, are heaped atop the meat. A fair pile of red beans in their own red sauce is piled beside. Flatbread is next, just about the only thing not covered in gravy. The Grand Haven Hotel, being a posh place, also has a bowl with a tumble of greens to round things out. Spinach and lettuce mostly, though it is late in the year there is hardly enough for the two of you to share. "Now this is why I come on in," Dan says, dives right in, and soon has his hands and mouth full. Sure, we'll eat right alongside him. It takes some doing because his pace is a voracious one, but soon enough the plates are mostly cleared. "That's a good meal, and I ain't talking about you paying for it," Dan says as he leans back with a sigh. "Just being here, out in front of everything and taking our time. That's the best part of towns like these. Go where you please, but stay if you like. Wolves and bears are fine, but being away from this sort of meal is just unbearable." Oh god, the bear pun. Is that a pun? It sounded dangerously like a pun. "Did it?" Dan wonders. "Some days I can hardly tell. Puns are the way people play with words, though I don't think the French or Spanish do it like the English. And I do mean the English from England. You know, where they got them all them angles stored. It proves impossible to stop the punning once it has begun. Only when it has run its course can you move on to other things." Start Romans? No. You must have had a very strange family. "Weren't strange at all, not to me," he says. "They were family. We moved around a lot. I pieced it together only after we got into trouble with some locals. They came for us with tar and torches. I wouldn't give up. I fell out of the wagon during the night and fled into the wild." He takes a deep breath. "Looking back, that might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, it helped make me the man I am today, and I can't and won't take it back. But enough about all that." I'd like to know more about panning for gold. Can't hurt to have more knowledge. "Oh, that's easy enough. It's all about thinking like gold," he explains. "Gold is about as heavy as things get, ounce for ounce. That means it's always going to try and get on the bottom of things. That is what you'll look out for by the river, where things would come to rest over thousands of years. Try a pan, give a couple of tests, and if there's bits of gold sparkles, then have at it until you can't feel your hands anymore. Sometimes you can use a little gunpowder to blast open rocks and get at the gold that's pulled beneath, but that can be a real problem if..." He talks a while about how to prospect the streams and rivers in these parts. Survival and explosives slightly increased. I hope you enjoyed the dinner, but I have to go. "Don't be a stranger now," Dan says, and stands to firmly shake your hand. "Sure, let's visit Maria." It isn't hard to find Maria. There are not many women to be found in Preston Springs. There are not any such as her. Furthermore, the Grand Haven Hotel has but one sitting room, a simple affair with 3 rough chairs and a simple table that she nonetheless occupies as though it were a parlour gilded with gold. Her dress is a shade of jade green woven with silver thread from hem to high neck. A pair of white silk gloves are tucked behind a brocade belt, fit with a matching buckle. A wave of dark hair has been braided to a loose coil and topped by an emerald-eyed comb. The tome before her is bound by soft leather, the Holy Bible. From what you can see, the words are all in a meticulously handwritten Latin. She looks up and tilts her head ever so slightly to the side at the sight of you. "Marshall, what an unexpected turn." May I ask what you're reading?" "The Bible, of course. Specifically the writings of Luke. They tie the Old Testament to the New, much as I seek to do with my former life." She explains and offers you the chair beside her. So anyway, and you can't leave your old life behind. No, I cannot. None can. Indeed, I shall always remember fondly the quiet and contemplative days in which I could pray with all my heart," she says distantly. "How are you today?" "Well enough, I think. Breakfast proved tolerable, though I admit I'm not accustomed to frontier fare. Yourself?" Well enough. Yeah. Nothing hurts too badly." "You have injured yourself?" she asks and gently closes the Bible, leans a little closer. "That is distressing, though perhaps unavoidable given your profession." "You're reading the Bible in Latin?" "Yes, I would prefer it in Greek or Aramaic, but my father would not let me take any heirlooms with me, for good reason, I suppose." "Do you have any other books with you?" "Only my usual travelling companions, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid," she says. "My personal triumvirate, as it were." "The Iliad?" "Yes, Homer's epic poem of the 10-year siege of the city of Troy. It begins with an act of love and betrayal, leads to a gathering of warriors that gives way to battles, duels, love affairs, and terrible prophecies of doom, especially for Achilles. To read it is to walk amongst the heroes of the Golden Age, feel as they did as they gathered glory and sorrow. Is it a long poem? It is a book unto itself, she indicates, and well worth the reading. The Odyssey? The very long voyage of Odysseus, hero of the Trojan War. He is striving to return to his wife Penelope after a separation of 10 years, but the gods of Greece have other plans, for he has upset them so. Great struggles ensue and perils must be faced until 10 more years later he again returns to the arms of his wife. After he slays a great many presumptuous suitors, she says almost fondly, a thing to which we can all relate. Your favourites? By far, everyone should read it. The story stands at the start of a grand tradition of storytelling, she says fondly. Alright, the Aeneid, the only one that I've actually got no idea what that is. The writer Virgil put an epic poem together to give a more firm grounding to the founding of Rome. It details the plight of Aeneas, his family, and other survivors who fled the sack of Troy, the same besieged city from the Iliad, she says. It is the grand tale of a people looking for a home, their struggles to do so, and the price they pay along the way to eventually found Rome. Well worth the read. Anyone who's literate can tell you as much, even though the work itself is unfinished. Virgil died before completing it? Sadly, yes. He caught a fever in Megara and died shortly after sailing to Italy to revise the Aeneid. This all followed a meeting in Greece with Augustus. It was said that Virgil requested of his friends that they burn his manuscripts of the Aeneid. Apparently he believed it to be unfinished, and furthermore that there were parts in Book 8 that were indelicate and immoral. Thankfully his friends refused, she says. That proved to be an especially good thing for them, as Augustus himself forbade that very thing and later decreed that the work be published with as few changes as possible. Okay, will you be staying here for the winter? I believe so, she admits and folds her hands in her lap. The hermitage site has only just begun, but come spring I may need to leave altogether. You see, there are a number of churches I should like to visit, small, modest beacons of faith in these wild lands. Perhaps afterwards things will have to resolve themselves back in Mexico. Ah. It is warmer there, that is for certain. Climate does not concern me, she says simply. The well-being of the people there does. Would you be interested in a game of chess? Of course, Maria replies with a welcome surprise. A steady staccato of thumps sounds out down the stairs and into the hall beside the sitting room. A moment later, Carlos swaggers in. If the man has slept a full night since his arrival, he certainly seems reluctant to show it. Maria, what does the marshal want? A game of chess, Maria relates smoothly as her bodyguard trundles over to the table with the chessboard in hand. Unless you would rather play, uncle? Another time, perhaps, Carlos offers over. I have much to consider, and a game would be a poor distraction. With that, he saunters to the window and peers out through the frosted glass. The chessboard proves to be a simple affair, a single panel of oak painted with black squares to form the board. The pieces are carved of local granite from the mountains and done to such intricate detail that you can see the features of the horses and sharp tips of the royal crowns. Do you know the game of chess? Maria asks as she takes up 2 pawns, one white and the other black. She then curls her fingers about each to hide their colour. Carlos continues to stare out the window and seems oblivious to anything else. Yeah, I know. I think I know how to play. Let's not overestimate our abilities. Are you not acquainted with the storied roots of the tree of strategy? She asks. Chess has a long history that began in India. Tell me more. Oh God, so many questions. Let's play. Very well. Maria replies, then shifts the pieces behind her back. From the subtle clink of the pieces they might have moved, or not. When she reveals her hands, the pawns are concealed within her grasp. Choose a hand, a pawn, and the game shall begin. Choose her right hand. The white pawn is revealed. You move first, Maria indicates, and the game begins shortly thereafter. I can't castle my king in the first turn. I can castle it as quickly as I can. I guess that's true. Move my pawns up to create a interwoven front. Hop my knights out to seize control of the center. Slide the bishops free and pick off a few pieces. Wait for Maria to reveal her strategy. Sure, let's play conservative. She quickly establishes a curtain of pawns behind which she advances her other pieces. As the middle game begins, both you and Maria are still vying for the center of the board. Both sides have captured pieces in equal measure. Try and swap the capture of pieces in my favor, sure. Maria methodically settles her pieces into a more formidable defense. As the middle game begins, your board position is more secure than Maria's. Several key pieces of yours occupy the center. You have lost a valuable piece to one of Maria's pawns. Play conservatively. Maria continues to methodically attempt to dominate the center. The endgame has arrived and there is time for one last gambit. Your board position is more secure than Maria's as several of your key pieces occupy the center. You have lost a valuable piece to one of Maria's pawns. Swap queens. Press her king toward a corner. Sure, swap queens. Maria refuses to swap. A draw, she pronounces as the two of you find yourselves down to kings and a scatter of blocked pawns. Your aggressive strategy has attritioned both sides to the point of exhaustion. Shall we play again? Alright, reset the board. Maria takes up a black and a white pawn, then hides them briefly behind her back before she presents her closed hands once again to determine who moves first. Left hand. The black pawn is revealed. Okay, I move second. Maria indicates and the game begins with her first move, followed by your own. Sure, let's castle. She lets her bishop slide out to try and pick apart your defenses before you can set them. As the middle game begins, Maria has settled several pieces in the center of the board that are making things difficult for you. Both sides have captured pieces in equal measure. Alright, let's be aggressive in moving to her side of... Yeah, sure. Let's be aggressive. Maria focuses on dominating the center despite your aggressive efforts. As the middle game begins, Maria has settled several pieces in the center of the board that are making things difficult for you. Protect my king. Maria responds with a sortie of knights and bishops. The endgame has arrived and there is time for one last gambit. Maria's pieces dominate the center and that requires you to flirt about the edges. Both sides have captured pieces in equal measure. Maintain my defenses. Now let's press her king toward a corner, sure. Maria attempts to fend off your efforts, but slowly her king is forced toward the corner. A draw, she pronounces as the two of you find yourselves down to kings and a scatter of blocked pawns. Your vigorous strategy has attritioned both sides to the point that neither side can prevail. Shall we play again? That's enough. I suppose it is at that, she says with a definite flush to her cheeks. Resolve slightly increased and stamina very slightly increased. The two of you chat a while longer over coffee, but eventually feel the weight of the remaining day. Perhaps we could do this again sometime? Maria inquires, then suddenly glances toward her uncle. There's nothing wrong with a nice game of chess, Carlos notes as he turns from the window to bid you farewell. Alright, let's drop in on Miss Carraway at the Motherlode Saloon. Despite the distant rumble of thunder from the mountains, the tenor of singing rises up from inside the Motherlode Saloon even before you step through the swinging doors. There, clustered around the battered piano, half a dozen prospectors and gamblers bawl out an incomprehensible tune with a gusto reserved for horse races, and there amidst them all sings Miss Carraway. Her features are flushed as she assails the tune with all her might and sways ever so slightly to the rhythm. Whenever she stumbles, she just leans on other shoulders and keeps going. Join in. We'll wait for it to end. It doesn't take long before the tune finishes with a piano flourish and the last bawdy line. Afterward, Miss Carraway stumbles over to a nearby table, sinks into a seat and peers over at you. Calamity, what brings you by the merry barn? She asks with a sloppy smile. What is a sloppy smile? There are some things I was wondering about. Go on, I got ears, Miss Carraway notes with a flick of a lobe. What are your plans for winter? Drinking and sleeping, she says with a chuckle. Can't do much more. Oh, gambling too, because they'll pay off eventually. Oh yes, as we all know, gambling always pays off in the end. Other people can go out and freeze by the river, panning for gold. I'll just pan for it in here. I'll let you get back to things. I appreciate that, she says as she reaches for the shot glass. There's whiskey left to drink and verses left to butcher. A grand old time for all. You leave her there amid her preferred delights. Head out on the town. Outside, the skies are blue, with but a swirl of cotton white clouds above distant mountains. Later in the day, a soft knock on your office door draws your attention. A tall and trim lady, dark of hair and eye, leans in but does not enter, as if the threshold held a razor's edge. Pardon the intrusion, but I'm looking for the marshal. Is there something I can help you with? I love stare at her. Perhaps, she says. I think yes. I think you are in fact the marshal. There is a long pause, as if you were gathering in an impossibly deep breath. Those dark eyes roam about your magnificent office. Every item is weighed, everything marked. Her blouse is pressed and white with a lacy collar that ably matches that which droops at her cuffs. A small ruby lies inset upon a ribbon of black silk wrapped lightly about her throat. A brimmed bonnet of a similar fabric rests absently in her hand. A harsh and stinging scent, not unlike spoiled vinegar, wafts in along with her and clings to her cloth. Just stare at her. Oh, I'm being rude, aren't I? She notes. Please call me Julie. Julie Moore. And you are? Annoyed. Love that. All right, we'll be polite. The marshal. All right. A pleasure, Julie replies. I think, yes, I shall forego asking after the spelling. It is not my place. The strange scent that accompanies her assails your head enough to give rise to a pounding ache. This has been fun. We ought to never do it again. Stare. Dear Marshal, may all those out here be as lovely silent as you, Julie says softly. With that, she eases out the door toward a stagecoach near to which many a bag has been piled. The stagecoach rumbles off and leaves Julie and her bags behind. So many of them, and one all wet from something that... Then you see it. On the side of a dark leather satchel are the words, Julie Moore, Undertaker. That smell is undoubtedly formaldehyde. Dangerous to inhale, and that explains much. Part of me wanted to shake some sense into her. You take a deep breath and let the wave of anger pass before you start upon other tasks. Intimidate and resolve slightly increased. Outside, the skies are blue with but a swirl of cotton with clouds above white clouds above. We've read it 7 times already. Visit the Babylon Saloon? I mean, we can. It's not going to change much. No. Same as always. Stop in at the Evening Star. Will that have something special? No. Not really. Lounge about the Grand Haven Hotel. A glance about the tables finds that Dan isn't there, nor is there any sign of Maria in the sitting room downstairs. Both her and Carlos's horses gone from the barn out back. Wherever they are not here, but there are still plenty of places to put your feet up. A wet gust of wind stirs through the night-swept streets. Move on to bigger things.